Hello Virgo, I am starting this video right at peak solar noon and hoping that the sun lends his powers of prophecy to your reading today because I feel like y'all have been going through it. For those of you who don't know, my name is Vincent and today we are using the Rider-Waite-Smith deck just because it's simple and it's what's been feeling right now. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the fact that Mars is transiting through the later degrees of your sign right now, possibly making it easier for you to yield to impulse, or on the contrary, lending a lot of vital power and energy to your activities in the world, making you feel more ambitious and goal-driven and working towards improving something or working on things. But I also feel like it's making you more apt to incite conflict, especially because it's moving into opposition with Saturn, who is preparing to re-enter the sign that is across from yours, Pisces, and bringing that element of cold to your interpersonal relationships. And I feel like having that element of cold can be helpful sometimes because it lends some objectivity, some detachment from emotions with regards to your relationships, especially the one-on-one relationships or interpersonal contracts, whatever they may be. But with Saturn there, it's like you're a little bit more detached from the emotional reality of whatever that aspect of your life is. And it makes it easier for you to make decisions on what's right and what's wrong for you personally. There can be some fallout, so I'm hoping that there's no bridge burning going on, at least not for its own sake. If you're burning bridges, just make sure it serves a purpose. Saturn likes things with purpose. Long-term implications need to be sorted through and considered, which, I mean, Virgo, you have a natural aptitude for anyway. But I'm just hoping that Mars isn't there screwing things up and making you reckless in the face of the objectivity. Like, you know better, but this is what feels right in this moment. It's going to feel good to call out this person for being an X, Y, or Z. Insert derogatory term here. But with Saturn, it's like, do you really want to do that? Because yeah, it'll feel good in the moment, but what's it gonna do for you a little later down the line? Think before you speak. Think before you act. Okay, we're gonna get started with your reading. Let's see what comes through today. Because y'all have been busy just trying to connect with your energy and just like there's so much activity, so much to be doing, so much that's been done and so much more to do, which is typical for you anyways, but I feel more so it's exaggerated in some way. Busy bees. Okay, Page of Swords. Speaking of busy bees, this is kind of like frenetic, like fast-moving energy. A lot of thoughts kind of racing through your head at any one given time. Possibly even like changes in direction, because when I look at the Page of Swords, he's kind of turned like he's about to go this way, but there's sort of this implication that there's another direction that either he was going or is about to go into, and although he's leaning this way, it wouldn't be very difficult for him to swap. So there's kind of like a mutability to this energy, like nothing's set in stone, nothing's fixed. Just this sense of kind of going wherever the wind blows, and we all know that wind changes directions on the drop of a dime. It happens so quickly and without warning sometimes. This can also be referring to an air sign person in your life, somebody who's either a Gemini, a Libra, or an Aquarius. Doesn't have to be, but just definitely somebody who does a lot of thinking, possibly a lot of speaking, for better or worse. And if this is connecting to what I was saying about the Mars-Saturn opposition happening on your 1st and 7th house axis, excuse me, I'm drinking kombucha, so it's making me burpy. Then this can be like maybe considering your words before you speak, considering the implications of any engagement that you have with other people before you do it, and make sure that your approach is tempered and not just sort of flying out spontaneously. Because this energy can be kind of destructive if it's not controlled or properly used. You know, swords like to cut things. We don't want to cut things unnecessarily. You got to measure before you cut. Okay, Judgment. Interesting. Okay. This could be, I know part of my brain wants to go like, I've already said consider the consequences of your actions before you engage in anything, but I think part of this is also some sort of mental realization that you've come to. And its implications are so profound and so large in your life that you kind of don't know where to land. You don't know where your world is anymore, and so maybe that's the reason for this sort of frantic is kind of a strong word, but that's kind of what it feels like. It's very fast moving, very rapidly changing. Like it's like I'm gonna go over here. Wait, no, I'm gonna go over here. You know, it's just it won't settle anywhere. And I think part of that is because of whatever this judgment moment was, this moment of profound import of, you know, maybe you were offered something. I'm trying to make this relevant to like on a mundane level. Offered something that made you consider the direction of your life in a completely different way. Maybe some sort of opportunity that was presented to you that made you realize, oh, you know, it is possible for my life to look like this, and now I don't know what to do with that information, and I don't know if I should go this way or go that way. And you know, part of the issue is your ruling planet Mercury is retrograde right now, so it's kind of okay to be aligned with the moment of not really knowing which direction to go because things are kind of weird and wonky right now. But definitely this is the time to really seriously consider things and weigh out your options. You know, if something has happened in your life that's kind of turned things upside down and you're kind of still trying to recover from things, that's okay. But I think what's going to help you process things is to maybe try to control this a little bit, the jumping back and forth. I've been giving a lot of advice lately in the readings to do some writing, especially some journaling, just to kind of get your thoughts externalized without sharing them with other people, because you never know how that other person is going to take it, or if they're going to tell somebody else who's going to take it wrong. It's just so much better to keep your thoughts to yourself until you really know what your stance is on them. And I think that's part of what the message is here. Don't be so quick to attach yourself to thoughts that are arising in your experience or in your mind until you've really considered them seriously on every level. You know, it's very easy for us to identify with feelings and thoughts that come up, but when you actually kind of sit and think about them, you realize there is no reality to them, although they may have felt real in the moment. We're kind of like, why did I even think about that? Or why did I even feel that? It's sort of like those moments where you're half asleep and you're thinking really seriously about something, and then you kind of wake up a little bit and you realize, what was I just thinking about? Like, none of that made any sense, and yet I was so like consumed by whatever this train of thought was. That's kind of the energy that I'm getting with this as well. We're going to pull some more cards. Two of Cups. I'm feeling compelled to put that at the base of the reading. Okay. I know a lot of times I'm going to take this, I guess, down the the romantic interpretation, but I'm gonna expand and go elsewhere with it as well. But this can be, if you're in a situation where you're in a relationship with someone or you have established some kind of partnership, it doesn't have to be romantic, but you haven't really decided on what the terms of said social contract is. You don't really know what your goals are. This judgment card is kind of coming in and saying that decision is going to be made for you, or the way that this relationship works is going to be established for you if you don't take control of it, or if you don't participate in the process of creating it. And what I mean by that is, like, let's interpret this from a romantic lens. Let's say that you've been dating somebody new and you haven't really stated to one another that you're in a relationship or that you're even dating, even though it's kind of like the obvious surface reality of things, and maybe things are going well, but you haven't really established, like, hey, are we committed to seeing each other exclusively? Are we seeing other people on the side? And is that even something that we want while we're seeing each other? It's like, if you don't take part in establishing what your boundaries are early on, it's going to be difficult for you further down the line to try to establish boundaries that you'd never set up in the first place. And there's going to be a lot of backtracking. Similarly, I feel like this could also be somebody had proclaimed their feelings, or perhaps the fact that they feel more seriously or have more importance placed upon whatever this shared pursuit is. Again, it doesn't have to be romantic. It can be like a professional project that you guys are working on. Maybe one person has said that I'm going to make this my main focus because I really believe in this. I really care about this. And it feels like it's, one of the most important things that I can be working on. And so therefore, this is the direction I'm going. And then you, or maybe the other person, is kind of like, whoa, things are getting a little bit serious. You've kind of shattered the status quo. You've blown your trumpets in my life, and now all the dust has been shaken up by the noise, and I don't know what to do with this. I don't know if I feel the same way about this project, or I don't know if I feel the same way about this relationship. And now it's kind of like the ball is in your court, and it's up to you to sort of render judgment upon the situation and say, okay, well, you feel this way, I feel this way, so let's do this. Simplify it for yourself first before you go and present the other person with your take on things. Make sense of what it is that you feel about the situation with yourself before you vocalize things, before you say something that ruins everything. Okay, and if you're already past that point, it's fine. Things happen. I think what you do next is just what's going to be most important. How you handle the fallout of that situation is going to determine where you go from here. So take the time to sit and think on that and reflect on what you're going to do next, and consider the long-term implications of any decision you make, because Saturn is about to re-enter Pisces and is going to be keeping an eye on you for the next little while. I'm going to draw some more cards. Okay, Four of Swords. Yeah, this is sort of conveying this need to reflect, to deliberate before you make decisions, like I've been saying, to consider the implications of the words before they come out of your mouth. Think before you speak. And then also, for those of you who have already kind of bit the bullet and said the thing and done the deed, and now you feel like everything's ruined, it's like, this to me is kind of like, it's not set in stone. Social dynamics, social contracts, they're very fluid, very changeable. You know, they're of the element of air. It's like the wind blowing. Like, yeah, we can channel wind into a specific direction, and it's like everything can be funneled down the specific path based on whatever our agreement between each other is. Like, oh, I love this person, therefore they're going to be getting all of my affection and love, or I hate this person, therefore I'm building up this wall, and there's not going to be any airflow between the two of us. But it's like, those are all intellectual, mental constructions. You can change the course of a relationship just by saying something. You know, a few words can make all the difference. You know, and if you have spoken too soon about something, then communicate as much, and you might be met with a little bit more of a flexible approach. Like, hey, okay, I'm going to give you time to figure out what you want. Come back to me when you know where we're going from this point on. Don't feel like you have to retreat from the world because you've screwed everything up, because you've said this one thing and the person didn't take it the way you expected them to, and now your life is ruined. It's not ruined, and nothing's set in stone. You can change the course of your life with one choice, one decision. Okay? So retain that responsibility in your life. Don't feel like you're the victim in a situation. You are always at the center of your own life. And what you do with it is your decision to make. Nobody else's. Okay. There we go, the Emperor, saying exactly what I just told you. You are the center of your own life, and what you do with it is your decision alone. Take it from the Aries. We know. And I think you know too, Virgo. There's an interesting relationship between the two signs, Aries and Virgo. You understand one another. Though you're coming at things from slightly different angles, you share the same awareness of self, awareness of power, awareness of responsibility, awareness of the importance of accurate perception, which could be another implication of this card here, is like making sure that you're removing yourself from the emotional landscape and trying to make sense of things rationally. You know, obviously considering the emotional landscape, because that is an important aspect of your life, but make sure that you're not just getting swept into the tides. You know, you need to know where you stand and where your roots are growing the deepest. Don't know why that was necessary to say, but let's see. I want a little more information on this Two of Cups. I know I've been kind of going off about this dynamic between you and somebody else. But I'm like, is it romantic? Is it professional? What's important about it, and why did it come through? Okay, so we have the Six of Coins that's come through, and then the Seven of Wands. I think this card kind of connects to what I was saying before, where there might be one person in this dynamic who is placing more importance on the project, the joint project perhaps, or on the relationship than the other person. And so they're devoting more of their time and their energy into upholding it and kind of making sure that they're balancing their life with this union, however it's manifesting, professional or romantic or otherwise. And somebody else is kind of like on the offense or being really defensive and trying not to see things on that level, trying to separate and say, no, my ambitions are elsewhere. I'm independent. You know, it's under the Emperor here. Like, it's like, no, I'm doing my own thing. I don't want to be caught up in all this. And it's not that I don't care. It's just this is not where I want to be right now. This is not the most important thing, or this is not something that I want to prioritize right now. And whether that's based on an actual, like, objective assessment of themselves in relation to how their life is manifesting for them right now, or if it's something out of fear, I don't know. I guess we can pull another card for that one, because that is kind of an open question there. I don't really feel like I need to say anything with this card, but it's kind of like, okay, maybe this is coming out of fear. Fear of failure, it could be. But definitely this card communicates a sense of the past kind of catching up with you, reaching a height of some sort. If we're thinking about the decans, this is the last decan of Gemini. This is the last 10 degrees before the northern solstice, the highest point in the ecliptic, the highest point of the sun's annual path in the sky. So it's like everything has kind of culminated up to this point. It's like maybe they feel that when they have tried to put forth effort into building up a connection or into a professional project, and they've put 100% of themselves into something, they've been met with failure, or they've been met with rejection, or somebody has taken advantage of them and taken the credit for their work. And so now they're like, no, nobody is going to have access to that. I'm not giving myself to you so that you can take advantage of me, so that you can crown yourself and leave me to fend for myself. Whether or not that's founded in reality, I couldn't say, but the fact of the matter is that the response is real. Their reasons are real to them. And whether that's you or another person, that's up for you to discern. I do want to look at this other side of the equation. It's like, what does this half of this feel like about this guardedness, this hesitation? Or maybe rather, what's important for that person to know? Because I'm looking over at the Emperor over here, and I'm thinking to myself, trying to force something to work isn't going to make it work. So if you're the other person in this dynamic who's trying to, make sure that this thing happens, that this relationship becomes a relationship, that this professional project is seen through to completion, and you're just like poking at this other person, trying to get them to participate with you and engage with you and find interest in you and the work that you're doing, it's going to have the opposite effect. I don't know how many of you have close relationships with Aries folks, but when we're in a dynamic that feels like that, like somebody isn't honoring our space and our autonomy and our independence and is like trying to force a joint union or relationship or commitment that we aren't in the headspace for, or that we aren't in pursuit of in that moment, you're going to get shut out. Like, they'll flip this right on you and leave you to fend for yourself. So I think there's a delicate approach that needs to take place, and I think that's part of what this card is saying. It's also a 4. It's also connected to this Emperor card by virtue of that. And I think what it's saying is like, it's okay to pull back sometimes. It's okay to give somebody the space that they need to figure themselves out. You don't need to be persistent. I know that works in some instances, like we honor persistence in certain fields and in certain pursuits, but there are other times where it's appropriate to not do that, where it's actually vitally important that we don't do that, because it can sometimes push a person away or just cause more problems down the road. But again, I do want to pick one more card just to see. I kind of came up with the message without the cards, but let's see. Okay, so there's 2 cards that came through, but this first one I think pretty well communicates what this side. It's actually showing up on the table like this with the female figure and these cards on her side of the equation, so I feel like it's relevant to point that out with the spread. But the 9 of Swords, this is the decan of Mars in the center of Gemini. I'm pretty sure it's a decan of Mars. But this is that frantic overthinking energy. This is being like awake in the middle of the night, anxious about the outcome of a situation, thinking, what could I have done better? Why did I say this? Why did I do this? I feel so stupid. I feel like I didn't do enough, or I feel like I'm trying too hard, yada, yada, yada. It's like your mind going 1,000 miles an hour, fixating on things that don't need to be fixated on, because that's what the brain does. That's what the mind does. It's like when you don't control that, when you don't employ a method of inner discipline, your mind is going to run away with you. And even if you do employ those practices of disciplining the mind, it's still going to do whatever it wants. There needs to be a level of peace made with that, and a level of understanding who's actually in charge here. Is it your mind? Is it your emotional responses and reactions? Is it your thoughts? Or is it something that is beyond that, something that is more than that? This Judgment card is like that ultimate realization, the self-realization. It's like all of these faculties, the mind, the senses, my ability to mobilize myself in a physical body and interact with the physical world, these are tools being used by something greater than what I perceive to be myself in this moment, by whatever name you have in this particular life, whatever gender or sex or whatever, race, whatever religion. Like, those are all layers superimposed upon something that is so much simpler and yet so much more profound. And so when we hand our power over to this lower faculty, when we identify with the tool rather than the person who is using the tool, or who has the capacity to use said tool, and tool I'm referring to the intellectual mind, the rational mind, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for suffering, because there is no stability in that. It's always going to be changing. It's always going to be running 1,000,000 miles an hour. And yeah, there are certain practices that can kind of help to calm things down so that they're moving a little slower, and so that they're a little bit quieter, even like herbal teas or meditation, exercise, creative pursuits. Like, those things are very helpful. But again, they're just practices that allow you to sort of grow in that respect, but they're not the ultimate realization that you are not this inner landscape. You are not this storm that's welling up in your mind. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. I struggle with that. So even me saying this, it's like I'm not above and beyond these issues, but it is something that I think more of us need to pay more attention to and make more of an effort to fully understand, and not just understand on an intellectual level, but to embody, to understand so deeply that it's inherent in our experience of life, our experience of being anything at all. And this is like the process unfolding. This is the getting better. This is the I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to work on my skills. I'm going to establish what I want for myself and pursue those goals. And I'm going to do the work necessary to bring those things to fruition, regardless of whatever this is. You know, maybe this other party is sort of embodying this emperor, this independence, this I'm going to go off and do my own thing because I have my own ambitions and I don't want anybody else to be a part of this for whatever reason it might be, even if it's rooted in fear or something. You got to be able to make peace with that and say, okay, maybe I'm perceiving this quality in somebody else because it's a quality that I need. I need to turn this around and be the emperor in my own life and honor my own independence. I don't need this. It's nice. It's helpful. But is it necessary? And I'm not saying you should cut people out of your life or anything like that. You know, I'm not saying you should build up a wall around yourself and keep people out. I'm saying if you haven't established who you are for yourself, what your goals are for yourself, what direction you're going to be taking things, what you want out of your own life, independent from entanglements with other people, then you're just going to be like a point flying in the wind with no discernible form, you know, constantly shifting around and just at the mercy of the mental storms that are constantly taking place. So work on something, work on the things, pursue the goals. And I'm wondering if like this Judgment card is sort of this light bulb moment where you're already coming to the realization of the things that I'm talking about. Like, oh, so these things have been happening for a reason, and this is the reason. I understand now. I understand why this keeps happening. It's because I haven't been paying attention, and oh my gosh, I get it now. This is what I want to be doing. And I didn't say this is what I should be doing, because there's no such thing as should and should not. I want to make that clear to people. Your life is whatever you make it. Okay? And when people approach divination or prayer and are constantly asking, what should I do? What should I do? What should I not do? You know, you're asking the wrong questions. And probably getting confusing answers when you ask those questions, because the universe is like, what? What do you mean, what should you do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Oh, you want to do this? Okay, I will support you. I will provide you with synchronicity and opportunity, and you will meet people that help to further you along on this path. But the minute that you lose sight of what you want and you get confused again, it's like the universe is going to meet you where you are. And yeah, it will present you with obstacles along the way. But those obstacles are like exercises for you to prove to yourself, to come to your own understanding of the strength that you have to surmount obstacles, to persist in the face of adversity. Okay? And that's where persistence is important. Not in chasing after somebody else who has a will and a mind of their own and trying to conform them to whatever your expectation of reality should be. No, we don't need that. Let them be whoever they want to be, and be whoever you want to be. There's no you should be together. I'm gonna stop there because I'm gonna start going off on tangents I don't need to be going on. But I hope that the message has come through clear enough for you guys. I pulled a lot more cards than I typically pull, but I felt like there was a lot to say. So I hope things are going well for you, Virgo, and wishing that these upcoming transits are going to be not easy on you, but navigatable for you. And that you come out the other side feeling in tune with your capability and strength. Your indwelling emperor. Okay. Wish you all the best. Be good, or not.